According to a Monmouth University poll, nearly 3/4 of this country's registered voters plan to watch tonight's debate. As the Washington Post puts it, though, many of them might be tuning in for entertainment more than help in deciding how to vote, however. While 74% say they plan to watch, just 3%, say they are very likely to hear something that will affect their vote. I want to bring in Jon Meacham, presidential historian and former Republican congressman from Florida, David Jolly, both men MSNBC contributors. Mr. Meacham, I'll start with you. A record-setting 87 million people watched that first debate between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton back in 2016. Why is this debate in this cycle, in this moment, why is it different?
Well, it's different because we know the show. Right, we know the rhythms, the punchlines, the basic shtick of the incumbent president. And Americans who are tuned into politics know Joe Biden pretty well. Vice president for 8 years in the Senate for so long. So there are very few surprises, it seems to me, to be had. And even absent the statistical stability of this race, we do have this remarkable tribal moment where so few people actually seek out information that might change their minds. It's one of our problems as a nation, is that, as Walter Lippmann once said 100 years ago, one of the problems of the modern era was going to be that we would define and then see instead of seeing and then defining. And so that's kind of an analog analysis. I think it's right. But I also think the other key factor in this particular presidency is the incumbent has shown us who he is. And I think insofar as folks are tuning in, they're going to tune in to see, are they sure that it's time to change the channel and return to a coherent political conversation in the country. And I'd bet a lot of money that Vice President Biden will make that sale.
David Jolly, one of the things from a strategic standpoint that's really struck me for a while now is how the president continues to go after Joe Biden's mental fitness. And in doing that, hasn't he set the bar incredibly low? I mean, if Joe Biden, according to the president, if he just shows up and strings together sentences, subject, verb, object, is that a win for him?
Yeah, Craig, look, it's a great question. And I think from Donald Trump, it's a distraction among the other news of the day, which is COVID and his taxes and security and climate and all these other issues. Donald Trump wants to be talking about his invectives towards Joe Biden because he feels comfortable there. But I think that's a great question for what we might see tonight, because to John's point, look, there are many constituencies that will be watching tonight, and most of those will be reflected by decided voters, most of them high information, highly engaged, intense voters, either red or blue, and they want to see the fight. But the truth is, a divisive debate tonight doesn't help either candidate. It doesn't help Donald Trump, and it doesn't help Joe Biden, because the 3% that you were talking about that may be persuadable, those are people who are looking for something that's not divisive. They're looking for steady. They're looking for amicable. They're looking for competent. They might even be looking for humorous. And so in a race that could come down to the margins, the question tonight is, among the persuadable voters, how do the candidates win them over? Because it is not with the divisiveness. It is not with Trump's attacks on competence, and it's not with Joe Biden going right after Donald Trump. The way Joe Biden should handle this is just by creating a contrast between the two candidates, and a contrast that puts Joe Biden in a very competent, steady, stable light.
As we're having this conversation, a live look here as the staff in Cleveland at Case Western University, Case Western Reserve University, put the finishing touches there on the stage in that arena hall. Jon Meacham, that poll that we referenced just a few minutes ago, it really is just the latest illustration of how divided we are right now. When we talk about Joe Biden specifically, is it possible to be tough and call out the mistruth simultaneously? And if so, how does he do that?
I think it is possible, and I think actually it kind of a Senate debate style kind of lends itself to that. It'll have to be much briefer, obviously, but you know, I think what Vice President Biden has to do is, as David was saying, is show that he's a figure of order, a figure of stability, a figure who is in tune with the concerns of a nation that's confronting these simultaneous crises that are affecting our very health, our way of life, our economy, and there's no end in sight. And so I think there's something natural in the human brain to sort of shift narratives. And so today we're all talking about the taxes, and it's an amazing story, and the $750 will live forever. But as you were just saying a minute ago with the speaker, more than 200,000 Americans are dead. None of us are really allowed to go live our lives in the way we're accustomed to doing. The structural economic damage of the pandemic is yet to be seen. And so 40 years ago, in that city, in Cleveland, Ronald Reagan closed his debate, the single debate with President Carter, saying, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Is it easier for you to go buy things in the stores than it was 4 years ago? Is America as respected around the world as it was 4 years ago? If your answer is yes, I know who you should vote for. If your answer is no, I can suggest a different course." It's a pretty fundamental presidential question. Grade the incumbent. Is the country in a better place today than it was 4 years ago? By no clinical measure, with the possible exception of the stock market, which affects a sliver of the country. So I think if that case is made, I think that Vice President Biden will do the work he needs to do.
It's a good spot to leave it, gentlemen. Thank you. Jon Meacham, former Congressman David Jolly. Thank you both. Thanks for your time this morning.